Okay, hi everybody, it's Dara, and I am here to discuss something personal and something so important. Um, I was, there's so many airplanes. I have to say it anyway, I don't care. I have to make this video no matter what's flying overhead, because I have to speak. It's actually very perfect because that's what this video is about. It's about speaking our truths no matter what. In the face of airplanes flying overhead, in the face of somebody getting angry with us or us losing something. Today I had a session with Dr. Sadeghi. Some of you may know Dr. Sadeghi from our Healing Disease video series. And I talked about, oh, this is ridiculous. I might have to move inside. Okay, I'm making this video no matter what, because that's the whole point of this video. It's to encourage us to speak up, to express ourselves, because when we don't, our words, our feelings, our emotions totally and completely get lodged in our bodies. I don't know if you've heard this story. I did share it on More with Dara, and I remember pretty much to the day when I contracted my hypothyroidism, my slow thyroid, my Hashimoto's thyroid dis-ease. It was on a day when I gave up speaking to my partner, my then partner at the time. I tried every which way of communicating. I tried showing him books. I tried the compassionate communication. There's a Center for Nonviolent Communication that was founded by a man named Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, and he has the most beautiful ways of resolving conflict. I listened to tapes, I read, I tried, and in the end, pretty much all I got was like this. The person I was with was not comfortable with emotions. So I remember the day I just said, I give up. I'm not going to talk anymore. And wouldn't you know it, months later, I was sick. I was really sick. I couldn't get out of bed. I got out of bed, I'd get back into bed. I was crying a lot. I just was not myself at all. Like, I was gaining weight, my eyelids were heavy, fogginess in the brain. For those of you who have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, I really feel for you, because it is a debilitating situation. So at the time, I had said to, I'm in trouble. Like, I really don't feel like I'm ever going to be myself again. And there was an astrologer I used to speak to, and she said, I think you have a thyroid disorder. I went to an endocrinologist, and he said, this is an emergency. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being in a coma, you're a 9. Here's a pill. And of course I took it. It was Synthroid at the time. I knew that probably at some point I would like to get off of it. I had never known anyone that didn't take anything that other than synthetic hormone replacement for the rest of their lives. When you take Synthroid, the doctor will tell you that you have to stay on this forever. And I took it because I didn't want to feel like I was in a coma, but I knew one day I would get help. Fast forward 7 years later, I moved to California, and for some reason I had a bottle of like 200 pills, and I was on my last pill. And I said to a friend of mine, please, do you know of anyone? I need a doctor. And she said, well, I heard of this Dr. Sadeghi. So it was a Saturday. I called the office. He came in on a Sunday to meet me. He looked at the bottle and he said, are you willing? This will overtake the use of your thyroid. Are you willing to go through what you need to go through to get off of it? And I said, yes, yes. And I remember when I met Dr. Sadeghi and I was lying on the table, and he said, I think you have adrenal fatigue and a thyroid disorder. And I cried. And I didn't cry from the news. I cried because I was finally in a safe place. And I knew that I was going to get the healing that I had longed for. And it turns out, as most women, many of us, we go because we need to take care of the children. We need to do our jobs. We take care of the house, and we keep going. When the lab results came back from the blood test, they said to him, why is she an outpatient? Why isn't she in the hospital? So Dr. Sadeghi that I said I have an enormous threshold for pain and great tolerance, and so I don't see him very often. Many of you can see how beautiful he is and the kind of healing that he does. If you go to my 4-part series where I did an interview with him, and we talked about the importance of taking responsibility for contracting our dis-ease, because our bodies are so amazing. Their gauges, their symptoms flare up so that they tell us, our bodies tell us that something's going wrong. And if that's going wrong, what can we do to fix it? Which is why I'm so against, when I have a headache, I won't take Tylenol because I want to figure out why I have the headache. When I have a pain in my neck, I want to figure out why I have a pain in my neck. And once I figure it out and I let that register and I go, aha, the pain usually goes away. So our bodies are these amazing instruments that will shout out at us, very loud sometimes, when something is off. So many years later, I've been in to get blood tests, and I see Dr. Bob because Dr. Sadeghi's very busy. But this particular time, Saturday, another Saturday, so funny, I think I emailed him on a Saturday and I said, I'm in trouble, I'm limping. And some of you may have seen on Snapchat or whatever, more with Dara, I mentioned that I've been doing soft sand beach walking because one day I tried to run last year and my hips hurt, and I thought, no, I'm not old and I don't need to have my hips hurting, and what is it? So I started doing soft sand walking and drinking turmeric juice, and it got better. But recently, it flared up again so badly that I was limping. I was actually I'd get up from a chair and then I'd it hurt so much that I had to kind of slow down. And I'm like, that's just unacceptable. And I know Dr. Sadeghi can sort this out. Well, wouldn't you know it, he emailed me back and he said, I will see you Monday at 10 a.m. And I thought that's a miracle because he's booked 5 or 6 months in advance. And I was like, I don't like to be a pain in the butt, but I just know he can help me. And usually when I go into Dr. Sadeghi, or when I used to, he'd say, how are you? And the first thing I would say is, what's going on emotionally? And he'd say, aha, it's showing up in your blood test here and here and here. What goes on emotionally in our lives goes on in our bodies, and you can see and he can see. So if you want, you can go to the beehiveofhealing.com. I will put the link below so that you can contact his office because they have ways of helping you with your particular weak link, what I call weak links in our body. When stress comes or emotional situations come, there's areas in our body that become the weak links, so we can pay attention and we can heal those areas. So I was like, what is it? Fear of moving forward. My left toe, I banged it. And so on top of my hip, this is what sent me to see him, is that I really couldn't walk easily because my toe wouldn't flex. And I'm like, did I bump? I have no idea what I did. Maybe it's all aligned. What emotionally is going on? And what he discovered is that in my pelvic area, to make a long story short, I was holding a lot of energy from past trauma, from the trauma. I want to keep this discreet and I don't want to say specifics or who or what or anything, but I had emotional issues over, I would say, the divorce, over that it happened when my daughter was just a baby. And I remember that when I got divorced, in my head, I was like, somebody can take away anything, but they can't take away my dignity and my grace. And in my head, that meant not getting angry. That meant not speaking up. That meant holding it in and being a lady and being strong and being, dignified about it. But guess what? I ended up storing a lot of those emotions in this area, so much so that the pressure on the inside built up and was pressing. Like there was energy stuck there, and it pressed on my muscle, which caused an imbalance and a hip pain. It's fascinating. You could have a tilted uterus that will press on the muscles and then cause hip pain. So it's just, it almost just like there was like an emotional release. Like I cried and I like sweat, and I was like, oh my God, that's from not speaking up. And I feel like a different person when I left the office. I was like, something just happened, like something shifted. And this is so personal, and this is so not meant to like share anything other than when we suppress our emotions and we don't speak up, we run the risk of storing it in our bodies. We have energy. Everything is energy. We have energy in our food, energy in our homes, energy in our body. When it gets stuck, it stagnates and it builds and it causes dis-ease. So that's why when you hear of somebody who eats perfectly healthy, they could eat a perfect vegan diet and then they could still get liver cancer. Well, guess what? Anger gets stored in the liver, energy gets stored in the liver, and that's it. Like, so it's a whole thing. It's our food, it's detoxifying our bodies, it's decluttering our homes, our relationships, and in that, there is communication that needs to be done. So I was taught, I don't know if you were taught, but I imagine many women are, because he urged me after the session, he texted me and he said, Dara, you can make a video about this. You can help other women to free themselves of repression. And repression leads to depression. When we repress our emotions, we get tired, we get sad, and then it builds on itself and it builds on itself, and it can manifest itself. It will manifest itself here, hip, anywhere. It can manifest itself in our brains, right? So this is why taking medication to suppress symptoms is something that I'm just so against, because we're never dealing with the root, what caused it in the first place. What caused, I'm trying to get higher, what caused those feelings. When I get a pain in my neck, I think, who has a pain in my neck? And then it goes away. Of course, you can have a little massage. When I get a headache, I don't take Tylenol because I'm like, there's a reason. Am I dehydrated, or is there something going on in my brain that I just haven't sorted out? And I can say this from my experience. I can share my mother's experience, because in her passing, she allowed me to film on More with Dara. I shared so much stuff that I can't even watch. What happens if you have anxiety, and instead of dealing with anxiety and expressing yourself, and you decide to take Xanax, which she did? The Xanax just suppressed it. And then instead of getting the tools to figure out how to get rid of the headache, how to get rid of anxiety, how to get rid of the butterflies and the nervousness and the ulcer, how to soothe ourselves without opting for a little white pill, what happened to her is it toxified her liver. And once the liver can't function, it can't filter out the normal things like chemicals from airplanes and environmental toxins, off-gassing, or food that got into our bodies that's not really food, or people are wearing perfumes that are chemicals, or there's so many things in our environment that are causing our liver to overwork, that what if we're taking a pill and then causing our liver to work harder, and then the kidney starts to not function and we can't eliminate, and then they give you kidney medicine that affects the heart, and then the heart medicine poorly affects the kidney. Then we're like so far down the line, when if we just said, what is going on emotionally in our lives, and how can I ease it? How can I soothe it? How can I work it out? How can I talk it out? How can I express myself? And so I think that part of this video, one of the important things is not only listing the things that can go wrong, is listing what can go right, which I'll say at the end, but why do we do this? I was afraid. My baby was little. My hormones were wild. I had the thyroid disorder. I wasn't sorted out. Many women get hypothyroidism from pregnancy, and then they're out of whack for so long that I think it takes a year or two to kind of balance out, maybe a year if all emotions are right. So I was under that year point, and I wasn't thinking clearly, and I didn't have the wherewithal to say, wait a minute. I just went along with the flow, and I said, okay, I'll just keep it together, and I'll be a lady, and I won't say things. And I think that the trauma of not speaking up and being heard affected here, but also got lodged in the area of femininity, right? Of of womanhood, of our most vulnerable place. That when there's any kind of trauma, whether you've had sexual abuse or you've had, you felt discarded after pregnancy, or things just haven't gone right and you haven't expressed it properly, then it can get caught there. And this is our area of creativity. This is fertility. This is how we express ourselves in the world. And I couldn't see, I was trying to see what was the fear of moving forward, but it wasn't my fear of moving forward, it was my fear of expressing myself that got stuck, that prevented me from moving forward. And I believe that it was preventing me from moving forward creatively. Where's the painting that I like to do? I started drawing yesterday and I was like, and I just couldn't feel the vibrancy that I want to feel. And if we really truly want to feel the vibrancy that's available to all of us, propping myself up because that's what I want to do. I'm doing everything I want to do. If we can't feel the vibrancy, we won't have access to true creativity. We won't have access from the divine, our own internal sacral. We want to free it. That's why so many people are doing Kundalini yoga and moving the energy inside and out. And I think that when we do that, it makes us want to express. So all of these things go together, the raw food, the eating clean, the detoxifying, the getting clear on what's going on in our hearts and our guts and our minds. And I don't think that there's a quick fix. I think that it's mindful eating and mindful what's in our environments and who's in our environments, and it's also what we say. So the reasons I was afraid that I would lose my child or money or security or safety. I mean, a woman has a baby and then what? Like you're vulnerable. And I think if we're afraid of being vulnerable and we're afraid of maybe being alone, some women don't speak up to their partners because they don't want to hear, and they're worried that if they speak up, then they'll be left alone, or they'll be ostracized, or they'll be ridiculed or mocked. And quite frankly, of course it's easier to stay quiet, right? Of course it's easier to just keep it to yourself and keep going on. And I think that's why a lot of women develop breast by the heart. Like, where's the heart connection? Like, if we stop talking just to survive, then we're not thriving, and the energy can get stuck in our hearts, stuck in our liver, stuck in our brains. I know my mom's anxiety probably manifested into her brain tumor. There was a lot going on with my mom, so I can't say it's one thing. I mean, there was a lot of toxic things that ended up coming into her home. There were mothballs under her bed, and please don't use mothballs. They really do cause brain cancer. But I think the suppression of a lot of the pain that she held on to a lot of pain from her childhood, from her divorce. And I think it best to express ourselves, express the pain, express the and I'm so glad that this happened to me. It sounds so weird, but it's like, I know that I'm meant, and we're all meant to be of service. We're all meant to be here, to be the person we contracted to be when we came into this planet. And it's not all roses all the time. There's things that happen in our lives that cause us to grow, that cause us to learn. And in my life, it causes me to process pretty quickly and then share. So today has been extraordinary. And of course I could not share it. It's personal. But if I don't share it, then you won't hear this thing that could prevent your own limping. Like, I actually was causing myself a limp by the emotions that were stuck. Isn't that fascinating? I still have to digest it, and I still will have more to say on this. I'm sure I'll say it on more with Dara, but we contract these things. I really couldn't move forward with ease and grace with that energy being stuck. It's hot in here now that I shut the door. I preferred it outside with all the greenery, but I really think it was important for me to say this and for you to be able to hear me easily. And so for those of us who are not saying something that's important, that is our truth, whether you're in a relationship and there's something that needs to be said, if we don't, it's just a white elephant in the room. And I don't know about you, but I feel it in my heart. Like, I've been in those situations where I'm in the room with someone, or we're out to dinner, out to lunch, and this thing happened, but we don't talk about it, and it's just there. And I think it festers, right? It festers with like a tightness here or a tightness here, or it's just not healthy. So for true optimal health, for true creativity, for true sexuality, for true optimal weight, we need to let go. We need to let go and speak what otherwise could get stuck and prevent the most vibrant lives. That is definitely what I've learned, and it's scary. I'm not going to say it's not scary. Sometimes it's really scary. Like, we have things we think that we can lose. However, that's fear, right? So if we operate from fear, nothing good's going to happen. If we operate from love, and we know that we're being an advocate. My mom always said to me, you are an advocate for your child. You are her advocate. So whenever I came from that place where I knew I was a lioness protecting her cub, then I could speak up. But what about when we need to protect ourselves? We need to protect ourselves. We need to be okay so we can care for others. So I was starting to feel a little like low and stuck, and like, why can't I move forward, and what's preventing me? And figuring it out and being able to speak about it is so liberating. So if you get to speak about it to a friend on YouTube, you get to write, you get to draw it out. I believe in art therapy. And if we come from love and we say what we have to say as an advocate, either for a child, for the underdog, for it could be for a community that's not able to express itself, for a person who's not able to express themselves, or for our own selves. How about if we first be advocates for ourselves? Great representatives for our own health, for our own healing, and for womankind, really, because we were taught to be quiet. We were a sweet, beautiful little girl if we were quiet. We weren't supposed to get angry. Anger was not pretty, you know? The dignity, grace thing, I do believe in dignity. I think it's important to express ourselves with dignity and with grace and still speak. It doesn't mean being quiet. So let's activate our thyroids, let's activate our hormones, our creativity. I'm gonna say it again, our sexuality. We need to have sex to keep the energy moving down there, because it's not like you can be moving here, stuck, and then moving at our feet. It's all gotta flow. There's like a direct channel that goes all around. And guess what? When, let's say, anger gets stuck in the liver gets toxic. When our pelvic area is stuck, that's where yeast can develop, and it will stay and stagnate and overpopulate and then take over everywhere. So all areas need to move, including our voices and our expression. So I hope that got across what I was trying to say. I can't say exactly, I can't really formulate exactly what happened to me today, other than a big thank you to Dr. Sadeghi for being so, I'd say, intuitive and willing to go at these symptoms and the roots. He's willing to see the symptoms and address the roots for what they are in unorthodox manners. So the more willing we are to receive healing in whatever form, the more we will get well. But I can't even say thank you enough to Dr. Sadeghi for being a pioneer in this kind of naturopathic, intuitive, and out-of-the-box kind of healing. I hear that there's more and more healers like that. Please share below if you know of great healers, because it's an old paradigm, what we've been dealing with, women being quiet and stuffing their voices, taking a white pill from a person in a white coat, thinking that somebody else can fix what it is that we have. Like, I know that I was willing to address why this happened, why the hip thing happened, and I'm willing to, now that I know, emotionally say, hey, what do I need to do for myself? I know that Dr. Sadeghi can facilitate healing, but he can't heal me. I have to be willing, because you could go into his office and he could say blah, 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 but if you're not willing, the healing's not going to happen. It has to be like, it's a giving and receiving. It's a, I have something to say. Do you want to hear? Can you accept it? And can you incorporate it? Can you do the work after? Can you be mindful about continuing to speak up for yourself? And I have to say the answer is yes. I'm not willing to suppress anymore. So that's a fun challenge, right? If we say, I'm going to speak my truth in a loving and compassionate yet firm manner when the timing is right, in a way that I hopefully am heard, but we can't control the person on the other end. We can only navigate how we operate with other people. We cannot change them. We cannot make them hear. We cannot make them alter their behavior. Ideally, they hear us. Ideally, they shift. But really, the only truth is us and our truth. And we will know that we spoke what we needed to at the time we needed to, and we can have peace with ourselves that it was said and it was expressed. So let's be brave. You know, let's not play into this old patriarchal. I mean, women used to be the wild, they called us witches, but we know stuff. We are amazing creatures that have a voice, and we've been suppressed. So I think Dr. Sadeghi's urgency after, when he texted me, he's like, video, and I was like, oh, really? I just did that, what? And I'm like, yes, that's it. That's it. We have to share. And we have to grow stronger together in a loving way, and not a compete with each other way. No, no, no. We are not to compete for the man. We're to grow strong together and build each other up. And it's none of the catty stuff. It's the loving stuff. It's the how can I help you? How can I be of service, sister? Because we're all family. And if we treat ourselves like every person we meet is like a family member, that's just such a much better place to come from. And no time, it's not needed like it's needed now. It's never been needed like it's needed now. It's like, we need to do this. We need to be strong, and we need to stand in our truth and not hide in Xanax and not hide in TV, and stay awake and aware. And if we're repressed and suppressed and depressed by all the fear that's coming at us from the news, then we're suppressed and depressed. We can't express the love. We can't beat the bad guys because we're down from them. And that's why when I was in Paris and the attack happened, I made it video saying, hello, I love. And if for some reason you lose me, you'll know that I've loved up till this minute, and I will continue doing so. I just don't want to buy into the fear. So that's terrorists that are those kind, and then there's sometimes terrorists in our lives that we need to speak up to. So I hope this helps. I hope this is an ongoing conversation of ways in which we can communicate and stand up for ourselves. So what a beautiful thing. So thank you to Dr. Sadeghi and all the beautiful people at Beehive of Healing. May that multiply, that kind of love and healing. I walked in today at 10 a.m., 9:30, and they were having their own healing circle amongst the co-workers there to brace themselves and to boost themselves for the week ahead, because they're seeing people who every other person has cancer, and it's to boost ourselves. I walked in and I saw this circle of love, and I joined it with them, and it reminded me that we have a choice. We all get sad, we all get a feeling of depression, but we have a choice to shift it. I was feeling sad the other day, and I was like, I'll go see Herbie. Somehow that will shift me, and it did. So we get to make our choices. So if you're ever feeling bad, turn on one of my videos or turn on somebody that inspires you, and that will help lift you so that you can get to the place where we can make this world a better place. So I'm totally hot. I gotta open up this window. Dogs coming in. I love you guys. It was a long video. I'm glad you made it through. I'm glad. Come here, Roxy. Come say hi. And air and love and communication. May we keep it flowing. Right? Right, Roxy? I hope the mic was on. I hope you could hear me. I hope this was all expressed well. Speak up about something today. with love. And we will see you really soon. And don't forget, or please remember, to get your greens on. And I will see you soon. Right, Roxy? Are you a good girl? When I take my hand away, she puts it, she noses me. Yeah, that's it.